Rochester, the home of the House of Guitars, the Lilac Festival, and Susan B. Anthony, this is FC3's Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky, and everything can be geeky if you love it enough. Starring Billy DeTore, Tanya Metris, and myself, Chris Frank. And here is your host, that would be me, Chris Frank. And yay, that's me in stunning Kodachrome. Da-da-da!
I just listened to Paul Simon this morning.
I love that song. It's a classic.
I know.
That's
I
amazing.
love that song,
You read my mind.
All right, so here I am. I am your host. My name is Chris. With me, as always, is the effervescent and vivacious Billy DeTore.
Oh, hi.
Hello,
yeah,
Billy
you
DeTore.
think that he was going to be, but no, that's you.
And my surly human sidekick, Tanya Metris.
Surly. Remember,
You're not my DM anymore either, lady, so you back the heck off right now.
You know what? Everyone is loving the fact that I just sideswiped you with that miserable comment a couple weeks ago on Nerd World News.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, you deadpanned that. They're like, that was awesome.
That ranks right up there with the one where we were talking about, getting Gene some presents for his help.
Oh, yes. And I'm like, I don't think his wife's going to like the scotch.
Yeah. It caught me completely off guard.
Yeah.
So we have a friend in the studio today. We have a friend. We have a guest, as it were, a guest of honor. Hello, Mr. Billy Kidd.
So excited to nerd out with you guys.
We've been working on this for a while now, so to finally get you to sit at the table with us is kind of cool.
With Billy Squared today.
Yeah, we have two Billys.
I'm excited to be sitting next to someone still working in radio.
We're going to be getting mileage out of that for a while.
I'm going to pretend I'm not nervous myself, and we'll just roll along.
Oh, there's absolutely no reason to be nervous in this crew.
No reason to be nervous at all.
I was nervous when we first started recording, and now
she hosts.
Well,
she can do it.
I don't have anybody to nerd out with.
Okay.
Like, my family isn't into this. My son was into it until like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
He didn't go see the last movie with me.
Now, how old is he now?
He's 15.
He's 15, okay.
Which you think would be prime
real estate for this sort of thing.
Prime real estate for being a nerd.
Yeah.
And he was, I was like, hey, I'm going to go see the movie. You want to go? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to see how it all wraps up in the end? Nah, I'm good.
My son, step for step, the new Doctor Who series started in 2005. He was 2 years old. So he was, by no choice of his own, he was sitting in my lap when I would watch it.
Indoctrinated.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Nicely done. And so he was with me step for step right up until towards the end of the 12th Doctor's run. And he was like, yeah, Dad, no, it's okay. I'm gonna skip this one. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? Anyway.
My heart was only slightly broken.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Honestly. So Billy is with us today because we're going to be doing a chat about Star Wars. We're going to catch up about the whole mythos. The saga has come to an end. We're going to talk about Rise of Skywalker. It's been out for a while now, but we're going to say this. Spoilers. That consistent fragrance. That the fragrance from Mighty Monkey Corporation. Spoilers. Now available in Dan's gift shop. Dan's looking at me like, what?
We need to really create a fragrance that's spoilers.
And it's going to smell like kids at a Comic-Con.
Oh, no one's going to buy that. No one's going to buy that. No.
You never know. There might be a niche market for it.
No.
No, it's just going to smell like deodorant. That's about it.
Let's clean linen. Clean laundry.
Clean linen?
Clean laundry.
Okay.
Yeah, something like
that. All right. So we're gonna go up and down the scale on Star Wars today. And after that, we're going to have our events. And then after that, we're going to have our question of the week. So it's kind of a par for the course kind of a day. Just with a special guest on board today. And I have a sneaky suspicion, Billy, this is probably not going to be the only time you ever come and hang out with us.
If we can talk Star Wars, I'm in.
You're in.
Any other fandom?
I was going to say, do you have other fandoms?
I don't.
Really?
And everybody who thinks if you're into Star Wars, you're not into Marvel, or you're not into this or that, Star Wars is it. I literally live in that universe.
Now,
okay. How did you find just Star Wars without sort of crashing into the other Star Treks?
I checked out Star Trek for a while, and it just never
clicked.
It never clicked with me. Like, I like Picard.
Yeah.
And did somebody just sigh? I thought I heard her.
I've only watched the first episode.
And I watched a little bit of that, but my mom always watched the original series.
Okay.
When I was growing up, it was on like Saturdays on Channel 31 or something. And my mom always watched the reruns of that. But that probably got me started. But Star Wars came out when I was 7. And I was there and just spellbound from day one.
So you and I are the same age then, because I was
going to be 50.
Yep, same here.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
I was 5 and wasn't even thought of yet.
Whatever.
We still love you, though. It's all good. Kids.
I'm only 2 years younger than you are.
I know.
So
you're adorable. All right.
Thanks.
But, so yeah, you and I are right there, and I've told this story on the podcast on several occasions, how when it came out, going back to the theater and seeing a movie in the theater several occasions was just, It was not the norm. It was not unheard of, but it was just not the norm.
There was no reason to.
Right. And of course nobody knew about VHS or home box office and stuff like that. Yep. But to say that I saw the original Star Wars in the theaters like 12 or 13 times when it was first out, that's like, that's that badge of honor thing.
Yeah.
That's where people are like, oh, you really were into it. I said, well, I was 7 and didn't know any better. And my dad humored the hell out of me. So it worked out really, really well. I was telling him that story over lunch a couple of weeks ago, and how I mentioned the fact that he was an enabler in my geekdom, and he just laughed and went back to lunch. It's just.
Were you guys Dungeons and Dragons kids?
I still am.
Not until 1992.
I got into it.
I was 20.
You waited a little.
Well, I didn't know.
She was a late bloomer.
I'm an only child, and I lived in Avon.
Not a lot else going on in Avon.
There's not a lot out there.
I lived in Avon for a while. There's not a lot going on.
I lived on 5 and 20, just right over the border, coming into Lima. There's really not a lot out there except for farmland.
Tanya led a sheltered life.
You ran your own solitaire league.
Yeah. I mean, I read a lot. I was a reader and things like that. And then in high school, I was a cheerleader, and it wasn't until I met my husband that I'm like, he had books. I'm like, what's this? And he told me what it was, and I'm like, huh. I'm like, it's just like pretend with rules and things like that. And I'm like, okay, and got into it, and it's now how many years later?
See people.
What was it? 92.
I'm sorry if I screw up your video at all.
Was it?
So it was a guy that brought you over to the dork side.
Yes.
Totally.
The dork side. I love it. But yeah, I've been playing on and off since I was 12, and her husband hosts the game every other Sunday, and we're playing today, so we're going to be playing while the Super Bowl's going on.
Wow. That's commitment.
And I'm a Niners fan, so I'm going to have it on my phone. I'm not DMing.
I was actually wondering about that for you, whether you're playing or watching the game or both.
Both.
You can do both.
I'm going to have it on closed caption. I'll have the sound
She
on.
might be easy to beat today. She'll be distracted.
She's actually playing. She's not game mastering anymore, so...
and there's no,
she can kind of
beating and winning.
hide in her corner.
By the way, was it the last episode? I think you called the Super Bowl.
Niners Chiefs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
At some point during that podcast, you called the Super Bowl.
Yep. It was kind of a no-brainer when you looked at what was the Final Four is, where it was like, oh, no, this is looking like this is going to go this way.
So truly, a couple weeks ago, I had my monkey business stuff on, and then I got home and immediately
switched over to your
changed into Niner stuff. The same thing's happening today. I do have my Niners colors still on from 2 weeks ago, so it's pretty
our
good.
social media chief, our friend Laura, is conflicted because she was born and raised in San Francisco. She started as a 49ers fan and then evolved into a Chiefs fan. So
because of Joe Montana?
She's loved both teams.
So Laura and I are not talking today. I've already sent her a message when she thanked me for her recommendation to get her nails done that we're enemies today, that we'll be fine on Monday, that we're not talking. I don't like her today because of whatever. Yeah, she's laughing hysterically. She goes, I'm so conflicted.
I know. Poor thing.
Just wear red.
Just it.
Nondescript red.
Yeah.
I know. My socks are red and white.
And as for me, when I finally make it to her house, I'll be wearing my Boston Red Sox t-shirt. So that's pretty much where my loyalties lie right now.
It's red.
I'm good. It's close enough.
Kind of.
Billy, how you doing over there, man?
Me? I'm good.
I'm good. Things are good? Things are better?
Things are moving along.
Good.
I get to sleep late. That's good.
I know. This is going to be like changing your worldview on things.
It really is. Normally on a Sunday, because you guys used to show up about noon to record this show in our old studio, I had a show that was on from 9 till noon, and I didn't get up till almost 8:30 today, and it felt kind of good.
I can tell you. That's probably going to you're going to get used to that.
I miss doing the show like crazy, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because you were not doing it just for the paycheck. You were doing it because you love it.
And it's definitely not the same because, when I'm just flipping through the channels on my radio,
instead of hearing a band no one's ever heard of, you're hearing Pink Floyd and Bon Jovi.
No, I'm hearing more commercials, more advertising, and because I was flipping through, my Billy Joel station is gone right now on XM. It's now Sirius 30. I don't know what it is. So
I was never serious at 30.
You still aren't serious now.
I know. At 49, I'm pretty unserious.
So, this morning was all tailgate songs
for
football. It was actually quite an interesting, but I was just bebopping through all the channels, and I hit that one station, and it was advertising. I went to something else, and I came back about 10 minutes later, advertising. And I was like, I could have been listening to music, but no.
I was home this morning, and I said, Alexa, play me music Billy Dettori would like. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Alexa doesn't know a lot.
Alexa, I'm like, you failed me, Alexa. All right. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into the 42 years of history that is that place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It started with a period of civil war. Rebel starships striking from a hidden base had won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire.
Dun, dun, dun.
During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star.
Ooh.
An armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet, pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that could save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy. 42 years later, we're still talking about that first run from a Star Destroyer, and we're talking about how everything unfolded from there. A total of, 12 movies now? Because you have the 9 Saga movies, and Rogue One, 11. So Rogue One, Solo, and I don't think there's anything else out there yet. I don't acknowledge the holiday special, nor will I ever. Nor will I ever. All right, so 11 movies, several animated
Happy Life
series.
Day to you.
Happy Life Day to you, too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they made a Life Day reference in The Mandalorian, so that's how I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that.
I haven't seen it yet.
Several comic books, several novelizations, a handful of role-playing games, computer games, action figures, play sets, Legos, T-shirts, pajamas, pillowcases, kitchen tools, the works.
You name it.
If you name it, it's out there.
Jewelry.
The Star
Stickers,
Wars
tattoos.
Empire.
I'm disappointed in myself. I do have a few Star Wars T-shirts, shockingly.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
You didn't wear one today?
No, I have a Watchmen T-shirt on underneath this. What I should have wore, though, my favorite Star Wars T-shirt it's a big statue of Darth Vader, stormtroopers all around him. It says "Stop terrorism, join the Empire."
There you go. That's it. So here we
I have one that Darth Vader's walking a AT-AT.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The AT-AT's on the leash, the little tiny one. So here we are, 42 years later, and we're going to talk about Star Wars today. And that's why we brought our friend and our guest in, Billy.
I can't believe it's 42.
42, man.
And so I'm almost 50-ish.
Yes.
And, I mean, it has been a part of my life since I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And every year or two, something new comes out. Or, like, the comic books will come out. Or a new toy would come out. And it's just been such a huge part of my life. Do you really think this was the last? This isn't the end of the movies.
No.
This is supposedly the end of the Skywalker saga?
The Skywalker saga is over, so now they're going to take the story in different directions.
But does that mean Poe's done and Rey's done? Or does that just mean Luke and Leia and Han are done?
Luke, Leia, and Han are done.
For sure.
For all the obvious
dead.
reasons. Well, yeah, they're like we said at the beginning of the show, spoilers.
You gave that away a long time ago.
Yes, I did. The original Golden Trio.
Yeah.
Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Wait, no.
That's the redhead trio.
That's it. The original Golden Trio had their characters have all passed on, with one of the actors actually legitimately passing on. Our Princess Carrie. But yeah, when Disney took over Lucasfilm, there was all the talk about how we're going to be churning them out. We're going to be doing this. And yeah, they've stumbled into some hurdles along the way because they're working on their storytelling.
Yeah.
What did you think of Solo?
I loved Solo.
I thought it was a great movie.
I think the only issue they had was it was too soon.
Yeah.
After the last Star Wars movie, it was like 6 months, and then Solo.
There was a little
out.
franchise fatigue going on.
Yeah, they should have taken, they should have done it a year at a time, or at least a minimum year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the only negative I had with it. I love the guy that they cast in that role.
I thought he was a good kid.
Because he's got the same kind of swagger that Harrison Ford
He really
has.
did feel like a young Han Solo.
Yeah.
I could see it.
And, they ended that movie where they could have done a whole series off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Maul coming back, where the last time we all saw him, he was cut in half, falling down a hole. And hey, mysteriously, he's back in charge.
And yeah, that's the thing, is he actually has a regular presence in the, I don't know if you followed any of the animated series, like Rebels. And
loved Rebels.
Rebels was great.
Yeah.
Clone Wars and Rebels. So if you follow those, you see that not only it's not a surprise that he's back.
Right.
But and how they play his story all the way out to its eventual
end. There's a whole movie right there.
It is. It's a whole slew of things.
When they say they're done with this universe, I wonder if that means they're done with all of those characters, and the next movie will be another set of people.
I don't think so.
I think not.
I think what you're going to see is you're going to see offshoots and probably playing on the same theme. Daisy Ridley has said she's done with the character, but I don't think so. I think because if you set up the importance of the character the way you do at the end of Rise of Skywalker, then you have to admit that she's going to be cameoing in something down the road. She's going to be popping up in the background.
And Disney, with a giant pile of money,
yes,
they're going to say no to $20-30 million to come in and reprise.
Seriously, yeah, go ahead, play your period pieces, Daisy. Go ahead and do your mysteries and your thrillers and whatnot.
And
but here's
back.
$20 million to come back and play Ray for about a half a minute.
Yeah,
and she'll come. She's not stupid. She is a very smart girl. She's hung in there through these years since Force Awakens came out. So. But what did we think of the movie itself, Rise of Skywalker? How did it tie out the saga?
It felt to me, I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't my favorite Star Wars flick, but it felt like it was like 4 or 5 different movies all crammed into one.
Yeah.
And they were trying to wrap everything up and put a nice little bow on everything. And there were some goofy moments that I kind of smiled at, like when Chewbacca got the medal.
Yes.
Like, that was a total nod to all of us Star Wars nerds that have been on the internet going, he got screwed.
Yeah.
So that was completely, was for us.
There was a ton of fan service in this movie.
Absolutely.
And lots of little Easter eggs.
It could have been 2 movies easily.
I was going to mention that. It felt like they should have pulled a Harry Potter and done a part 1, part 2. Yeah.
Part 9, part 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Part 9, part 1, part 9, episode 9, part 2.
Episode 9,
parentheses A.
Yeah, they were really, they were doing that
much
whole...
in there. Yeah.
They were in the series finale trap, where you're trying to cram everything into 2.5 hours.
And like someone thought, oh yeah, we haven't covered this. We got to wrap this up.
The movie has no lulls in it. There's no downtime. There's like a 30-second spot where you can run to the bathroom about 2/3 of the way through the movie. I found that out because that's what I did. But
there's actually a website for that.
Yes, I know.
Run or something like that.
Runtopina.com. But yeah, they come right out of the gates, blasting away, boom, right the second number 1 of the movie,
100 miles an hour.
It just keeps going full throttle all the way to the end, and so that's cool because that means they're not screwing around. There's not a lot of downtime. There's not a lot of lulls in the thing. There's no way to be bored in it with it. But by the end, 2 things: you're worn out.
Mm-hmm.
You know you've missed something at that stage. And then 2, it's like, but that's it?
There was a little bit of that at the end.
Yeah.
There was one thing that was missing that I thought I read somewhere, and I tried to stay away from the spoilers, but when you live in this world and you follow people on Twitter and stuff, sometimes things kind of seep through. So I intentionally didn't go looking for it, but I thought I read that the guy who played Anakin Skywalker in 1, 2, and 3, I forget his name.
Hayden Christensen.
I heard he was on the set.
He was,
and I was like, man, if Hayden's on there, he needs to make an appearance. Like, he could be the one to save Ben. Like, of all these people, because Darth Vader was a big part of Ben's
life,
Kylo's life, with the helmet, and he could have been the one to pull him back. And having him as Anakin would have been like goosebump for me.
Oh yeah. The Han Solo cameo, for starters, when you
idea that was coming.
You don't see that one coming a mile away. And, you hear, hey, kid. You're like, no.
I was the guy in the theater who stood up and went, no way! That was me. That was me. I was so excited for that. Did not expect that.
Because, Harrison Ford's been wanting out of this for so long. To finally be free of it after the first of the new movies.
Right.
And then keep coming back. It's like, wait, what? That would have been the moment for Hayden Christensen, in my opinion, that scene. That would have been the even bigger what the hell just happened moment if it's him in his Jedi robes standing there bringing Ben back from the brink. That would have made that moment 10 times more intense.
I'm sure you guys all had, you've been around long enough, the VHS versions of the movies.
Oh, yeah.
And you know how they changed the ending?
He's got it on Laserdisc.
Oh my God.
I have it on Laserdisc, I think, at home.
Yeah.
So at the end of, was it Jedi, where there's the 3 Force ghosts?
Yes.
And originally it was like old school Darth Vader.
Right, Sebastian.
Without the helmet. And then the re-release on DVD, it was Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, What are you guys
What are you doing?
Why did
George
you do
Lucas's
that?
inability to stop screwing with it.
It's like adding all the extra stormtroopers in when Han Solo comes running around the
Right.
corner.
Yeah, he comes
like,
with that full hanger.
It's like, ah!
But when you see the videos, the side by side, there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube where they took, pivotal scenes or scenes that were altered a lot, like Tatooine, where the original movie versus the DVD release, where there's creatures walking around. When you see it side by side, you're like, okay, if he had that vision back in the 70s, there just wasn't enough technology to do that.
Exactly. For stuff like that, I get.
Yeah.
For adding a little bit of flavor, add a little bit of spice. That's great. Like Tanya just mentioned the scene where they're chasing each other around in the Death Star, and Han turns the corner, and it was just like a couple of guys in the original, but now it was like a whole battalions hanging out there. That adds a little bit of a kind of a thing.
Yep.
But when you start
tweaking more things.
When you start tweaking things just to sake for tweaking,
just because
come on, let's just say it. Han shot first.
What's wrong with that?
Why did that have to be changed?
He was a scoundrel. Of course he shot.
It's gotten worse. Have you heard what happens now that A New Hope is on Disney Plus? Oh, no. It's been tweaked again, that scene.
No.
Oh, I did hear something
when Greedo
about
gets
that.
shot, he shouts out this nonsensical word and then falls over.
Yeah.
It's in the original. For those of you who don't know this or have been under a rock for somehow, in the cantina scene where Greedo and Han are bantering back and forth, and it looks like Greedo's about to kill Han right where he's sitting. Han shoots him from under the table. Done. Greedo falls forward. It's over. Han gets up. Sorry for the mess. Pays off the bartender. Walks out. That's badass. Okay. Now we are arguing over the fact that there's a lot of extra blaster fire, and it becomes a shootout at the table, and it looks ridiculous. But then Han shot second. Now all of a sudden, Greedo shot, so Han has to respawn. Now, I know the word and everything because I've actually watched it. The blaster fire starts up. You see Greedo's arms start coming out from behind the table. Then Han shoots him, and then Greedo yells out, "McClunky!" And
the hell does that mean?
What the? This is a high level of what the fuck? Come on! And then he goes face first into the table. If George Lucas, if we could just put him in a chair and tell him, "Stop! For the love of God, stop changing it!" That would be the one thing I want.
I'm reading it right now. It says, "What McClunky tells us about Star Wars Episode 9." It's like they're saying it's the name of Greedo's childhood sled. It's this.
It's Rosebud.
Oh, that's all that. Okay, that would be funny if that were the case.
Yes,
that's something the Simpsons should do.
Yeah.
So it's just like
Sideshow
it's just
Bob.
a funny sounding word.
Okay, so my son, we were talking earlier about my son started out being interested in it, probably because I'm interested in it, and the interest is worn out. He hasn't even seen the last 2 movies.
Okay.
So, but his first introduction to Star Wars was the Family Guy, Blue Moon.
Oh, wow.
So when we first watched Star Wars, after he saw that first, and then saw Star Wars, and was like, "Wait a minute, that's not how it happened on Family Guy." I'm like,
"No,
this happened first."
Family Guy's a parody. Hello.
This is not what you think it is. This is not the film you're thinking.
Exactly.
Okay. And I think as we start kind of moving through this conversation, the thing that's you're saying your son kind of didn't even watch the last 2 movies. I know my son has not watched the last 2 either. And I just think of bracing myself when I go to see these movies because I'm trying to fight the fact that my opinion has already been colored for me. And I want to just enjoy the movie. But I have this chorus of voices that the internet has given you.
That's the problem with the internet.
Yeah.
It totally gets in your head.
Yes.
That's why and Billy mentioned this, I try and stay away from opinions, spoilers.
And you try to, but,
I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, because you're not as prevalent as in social media as others.
Yeah, I scroll through Facebook, but if I see... if I start to see an opinion,
I'll
just
scroll.
Next.
I
don't want
I follow a lot of the authors. I want to know when the new books are coming out, which characters are developing, stuff like that. But I don't necessarily want to know the movie before I go to see the movie.
Right. But now the internet hate has just...
I'll throw Rose out there.
Yeah. When
I first saw the version that she was in where she kind of started out as this kind of goofy character and then took a prisoner, and then they sort of, I don't know, was there a love thing there? I don't even know what that was.
There was a very strange
There's a weird attraction from her to him for sure. which they could have developed in the last movie, but they didn't.
They skipped around it.
They skipped over it.
Yeah.
But the hate that she got as a human being on the internet was like...
It's ridiculous.
It's like Jar Jar Binks hate.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, do you think Jar Jar Binks was the initial sort of gateway to people expressing hate on the internet?
Can you imagine if we had the internet we have now when that movie came out?
Oh, God.
The hate would have been through the roof.
I mean, the poor actor who was behind Jar Jar, he's talked about on several occasions in interviews that he almost became suicidal because he couldn't handle the fact that people hated him that much. That he was like, wait, I was just doing the job. I was just doing what I was told to do. I'm just trying to bring this character to life, and he's supposed to be fun and lighthearted and silly, and this was his job. And the resounding just wave of animosity that came his way was horrifying.
At what point did fans decide it was cooler to not like the things they liked?
The internet, as it rose, and everybody got an opinion that they could hide behind.
But I still want, if I'm paying for something, I want to like it.
And that's a thing. And that's the thing. There's a practical aspect that a lot of these people just don't care. They want their opinion to color your opinion. That's what a lot of these guys are all about. They're all about, they're gonna hit you with such vehemence that you have to hate it like I do, because if you like it, then you're wrong. And I mean, what have I said on several occasions about Star Wars? And this was before Last Jedi even came out. Star Wars is not a niche thing. It's not a nerd thing. It's not even a continental thing. It's
mainstream.
Global. This is a global cultural consciousness. Yep. There are billions of Star Wars fans. So the ability to make the perfect Star Wars movie no longer exists. Anybody who says, I'm going to be a director of a Star Wars movie, you are going to fail 40% of the fandom right off the bat just by existing. Because there's going to be people who are like, well, I think this should happen, I think this should happen, I think this should happen, and they don't want to brace themselves for anybody's idea. They've already made their mindset that, oh, you're going to take the story this way, that's the wrong way to do it, therefore the movie sucks. Have you seen the movie? The movie hasn't even been made yet. Oh, it's going to suck anyway, because they're not following what I want them to follow.
I don't even get that. I want the artistry of the filmmakers. Mm-hmm. That's why I go to them. If I could make the movie, I would. Yeah. I'd be the millionaire, but I'm not. So I'm paying you to entertain me, and that's what I want. Over the past couple weeks, mm-hmm. I've had some extra time, so I've watched a bunch of movies. Not even geek ones, but you may have seen my Facebook post. I like this one. I didn't like this mm-hmm. one. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you shouldn't like something or voice your opinion when you don't like something, but to actively go out of your way to not like something.
Well, a lot of people were killing it before it even came out.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I saw a movie yesterday I hated. I didn't want to hate it. I borrowed it from the library for a reason, because I thought it would be entertaining.
Which movie was
I was wrong. It was a Robert De Niro movie called The Comedian. Okay. And it's just a hugely talented cast and a good director, but the movie was just effing terrible.
Okay.
And I spoke about it on the internet, and that's enough. Maybe someone liked it. I wish I'd read the reviews before I borrowed it from the library. Mm-hmm. It didn't cost me anything monetarily, just 2 hours.
That's it.
I would have rather watched something else if I'd had. And I don't feel bad for not liking it, but if I'd liked it, I would have been happier. I think the toxicity, that's a word we've used.
Yeah, several times.
Is just terrible. There was a podcast I used to listen to all the time named Nerd of Mouth. Mm-hmm. It was a nerd podcast. A comedian by the name of Mike Lawrence put it out with some friends of his, and he stopped doing it after the Lady Ghostbusters movie just sort of brought that toxicity forward. And he goes, why am I even doing this podcast? Mm-hmm. He didn't like the anger of the nerd culture. He thought it was. Yeah.
It's not even just nerd culture.
Yeah. It's a distillate. It's kind of a microcosm of what we deal with in everyday life across everything these days. It's just everybody just wants to be angry and wants to not like what you're doing if it doesn't agree with what
and it's okay to not like things, but like it
really is
to be angry at people who might like it, to not like it before you've even seen it is ridiculous.
Yeah. Moving back to the story at hand, because we're gonna this is par for the course for us. We're all over the place. You had mentioned, Billy, Billy Kid.
Yes.
William.
BK.
And Billy. Billy. There we go. All right. You had mentioned that you liked Rise of Skywalker, but it was not your favorite movie. Which one of the 11 is?
Ooh.
If you don't see Empire Strikes Back, you're wrong.
You're close.
That's what I was thinking.
I was going to say it's really a toss-up between Empire and Jedi.
Okay.
And I don't know. There's some things about all of them that I like. There's some things that I didn't care for.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that there's a musical number in every movie. To me, it's just so dumb. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
The Teddy Bear Dance Party at the end of Jedi?
Teddy Bear Dance Party. But there's so many things I liked about Jedi and Empire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from a special effects standpoint, George Lucas changed the whole industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And
without a doubt.
I mean, the original Star Wars movie, they didn't know how they were going to do some things after he had received the funding. He had all these storyboards, and then he's like, well, fellas, we need to figure out how to make this ship turn and have the other things follow it in frame with it. So let's make that. And they ended up making all these rigs that changed how the entire industry works. And it's fun for me to go back and watch the movies with that context. And the characters, by the time they got to Empire, were sort of developed. But Jedi, you knew exactly who they were, what they were about. And I like the way it ended. I like a happy ending.
Yeah.
And Jedi certainly had that. So.
And then the prequels came along.
The prequels aren't as horrible as I remember them to be.
They do have. See, the thing about the prequels is there are a lot of good parts.
All the fight scenes.
Parts. Yes.
A lot of good parts.
They went in with a level of expectation that just couldn't be met.
Yeah. Well, that's that whole global consciousness thing I was referring to earlier. And I'm a victim of that when it came to the prequels. When they came out, I had an expectation level, and they could not meet that level. So therefore, I wrote them off for the most part.
So are you ready for a level of nerdness? I'm not sure if any of you, hopefully somebody will agree with me that they
Go with
this. I ripped the audio off the movies and listened to it while I'm driving around.
Nice.
So you know the movie. You've all seen them a zillion times.
You can picture it.
You know what's going on. But the acting in those movies, when you take the visual away, is so bad. Yeah. So bad. And the original 3, 4, 5, and 6, were they are what they were. But 1, 2, and 3, the overacting. Yeah. Hayden, I loved his character, but man, that was rough. It was in some parts.
Our producers couldn't fix that script.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
I mean, the scenes between him and Padme when they were quote unquote falling in love with each other, it was the least believable romance I've ever seen on film.
But Rebels, the cartoon, did a better version of making them realistic characters that were in love and cared for each other than the movie with actual human beings in it.
Oh, it was terrible.
But they weren't. You know what? When I watch Phantom Menace, I just zoom through the beginning of the movie until the point that they're done with the pod racing.
Yes.
And then
not a bad movie from that point on.
If you skip the pod
skip all
that makes sense.
Right,
you go all the way up
the
past the pod race.
Yes.
Now you're off and running.
It's so
that
works.
That's how I did it. Watching it because Riker wanted to watch it one day a couple of years ago, and he was like watching, and he's like,
"This is boring."
Right. So therefore, I just started fast forwarding to he goes, "What's the next battle scene?"
There you
and
go.
Then that.
Have you ever watched them in the Machete Order? Have you heard of the Machete Order?
I have, but what is it?
It basically cuts out 1 completely. Phantom Menace disappears.
Okay.
All right. And then it goes 2. I can't remember as it was.
Hold on.
Oh, hang on. Bring that up real quick.
Google that.
Because they do it, and it's a really weird way of looking at it, where it's like it starts with 2, and then it goes to 4, 5, then 3, then 6. If I think straight.
I've watched them chronological order that they would be in actual time.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never done the machete.
All right, so it goes 4, 5,
2, 3, 6.
All right, so basically what they do is they start off with A New Hope right off the bat. The original is the original.
Okay.
Then they go to Empire Strikes Back, and then they're going to give you your flashback in 2 and 3.
Kind of cool.
So they give you 2 and 3 so you can see what was happening, and then they jump to Return of the Jedi and say, now this is how we're going to solve, we're going to bring it all together.
Well, that lays down the whole father-son thing and how Darth Vader became the bad guy.
Right.
That makes
so
sense.
it preserves Luke, I am your father, as the shocker.
Yeah.
It says,
basically.
Episode 1, Phantom Menace is noticeably absent. Very little Jar Jar, no annoying little Anakin, and the talk of the mitochondria midichlorians. And it uses the original trilogy as a framing story for the weaker prequels. So,
somebody really thought that through. Wow.
Yeah. I wish I could get paid for stuff like that. I really do. My God.
It was a blog post by Rod Hilton.
And it's been around for a while. I remember that much.
This one was 2012?
Yeah, but it's been around since, the concept's been around since, 10 or 11 at the very least. So, anyway. But that's a thing. But it takes Phantom Menace and just dumps it in the bin right off the bat. So,
I loved Rogue One.
Rogue One was a phenomenal movie.
I really enjoyed that.
The big difference between those movies and anything that came previous was when they were in a ship and they were taking off or they were landing, whichever version it was, that they were doing at that moment. Mm-hmm. It looked so real. Mm-hmm. The lighting coming in from outside, if you were on an airplane coming through the clouds, the lighting, they nailed it. They made it look like they were actually in those vehicles that probably don't exist anywhere.
And if that's
real form.
If that's the one thing that Star Wars has consistently done at an amazing, solid level through all of its properties, is the visual.
Yeah.
Is that aspect of bringing you into the world. Here's our technology. It's every day. It's nothing fancy for us. This is what we do every day. This is our thing. And making you feel like you were a part of it through the visual context. So you can talk about how the story is constructed, acting, dialogue, whatever. That's all, you can debate that until the cows come home. Right, Ann? Are they home yet?
Hey-o.
No, they're not home yet.
They're
still out in the fields. But the visuals have been that consistency. Like you were saying earlier, from the original movie, they were cutting edge. They were groundbreaking, trailblazing. Like that exactly. There was nothing. Not even Star Trek.
Star Trek was what we were watching before, and it was literally a ship on a string.
Yeah.
Going fring through the frame, and then George Lucas comes along and just does that voodoo that he did.
He changed the way that sci-fi was constructed.
Yeah.
Period. And hands down, and that will never be argued with. The fact that he can't write dialogue, debatable. But we're going to talk about his impact on the industry on the whole. So, do we want to carry on with Rise of Skywalker? What we thought about it?
Well, I'm just looking here. I've Rise of Skywalker looks for a first Star Wars Oscar win in nearly 40 years.
I'm wondering if it's going to be like the Lord of the Rings effect. Lord of the Rings had this monumental epic 3-movie trilogy, and it went relatively unnoticed by the awards
They haven't won any Oscars?
At the end they did.
Or anything?
No, Star Wars
since 1984.
Wow.
John Williams has been nominated over and over and over and over and over again, like 52 nominations or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly. It was staggering.
Wow.
All the films preceding Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker, have earned a total of 34 past nominations, with 31 of them for movies of the Skywalker saga. No Star Wars film has won an Oscar, so it's actually for the film.
Wow.
But A New Hope won for score, sound mixing, visual effects, costume design.
Okay.
Nominated for 3 Oscars, Empire Strikes Back won for sound mixing as well as special achievement and visual effects. So I'm thinking they're looking at the
acting categories,
the actual
and the best picture.
Best picture, yeah.
I'm horrible with names, but the original sound editor is from Geneva.
Oh, is he really?
There's a book, if you ever see this book sitting on the discount shelf at Borders, Barnes & Noble. Borders is long gone. God rest its soul. It had the little sound bar, and when you're reading through the books, like the laser, you're reading how they made the sound, and then you punch in the number corresponding to the picture, plug your headphones in, and it plays the sounds for you, so
Phenomenal.
You can hear exactly what they're talking about.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, it looks like they've been nominated for things for the different Star Wars. They've had a nod in regards to nominations, but it says there's a 36-year Oscar drought for Star Wars.
I don't know though. Is Rise of Skywalker Oscar worthy?
It depends on what
category
potentially would get.
Visual effects is a no-brainer. Score is probably a no-brainer. But quality of the movie itself, is that a Best Picture kind of a candidate? I don't think so.
And acting, I mean...
Yeah, because Force Awakens in 2015 were nominated for 5 Oscars in editing, original score, visual effects, and sound categories, but they didn't get any of them.
Best for acting, supporting acting, I would definitely give Oscar Isaac a nod because the Poe Dameron character is probably my favorite of the 3 movies. he was always so natural.
How does he keep winning?
His delivery was just always so just genuine, just so earnest.
Yeah.
And you there was no doubt about the character and his the chutzpah of the character itself. I'm waiting for General Hux. Yeah, I'm on hold. Yeah.
Do you think they nominate Carrie Fisher just because?
I was wondering that.
Yeah.
Just because.
Just give her a nomination just as a nod. Yeah. I mean, Heath Ledger got one for the Joker, and admittedly,
he won.
The Joker character, though, in The Dark Knight was pretty amazing.
It was.
I feel bad because Rose, we were talking about Rose a moment ago. She really did get shafted in Rise of Skywalker.
Did she get edited out?
What happened? And was basically what happened.
They had more in the can.
They wrote her into Carrie Fisher's scenes.
Yeah.
And then Carrie Fisher died, and they were like, "Now what do we do?" And instead of we
have to rewrite the whole script.
We did it. We did a podcast talking about what armchair quarterbacking, what we would have done in their position. Yeah. And I think a rewrite was probably in order. It was definitely a challenge, but it's not like they didn't have the budget for it, or hey, you have to understand this is what's going on. But what happened is, I guess, the story that I've heard is that Rose's scenes were tied to Carrie Fisher, and when all of the final products started coming together, and the CGI just wasn't there, the editing and getting Carrie Fisher's previous footage into the scene, it was just obviously not good.
Right.
So they started cutting those scenes out, and with it, there goes Rose Tycho. Kelly
That's a tough call.
Yeah,
because you're either reworking the entire movie,
right,
or just eliminating one character. And I think they did the right thing.
If you were in Kathleen Kennedy's position, and you're the executive
Sorry, Rose. Sorry, she's the last one in.
Yeah, last one.
If it comes down to preserving what footage you have from Carrie Fisher
mm-hmm.
to use as Leia, you have to use that. You can't not use her.
I bet they do right by Rose at some point, though. And a future Star Wars movie,
mm-hmm.
I think they're going to create a story for her that will sort of redeem what the audience has thought of her so far.
Or maybe a future Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
In the Star Wars universe. You never know. The Adventures of Rose.
Baby Rose.
Being you see Baby Rose being cradled by adolescent Yoda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It could be Rose and her sister.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story there too.
There is a story there.
They mentioned her,
right?
They never showed her, right?
Well, they did.
Or they did.
Yes,
she died in the Last Bomber in Last Jedi.
She got the necklace back.
Yeah.
Right. Because we had talked about way back in the day. We had talked about if you want to make what became the Rise of Skywalker and have Princess Leia, General Leia, a presence, how do you do it? And I had come up with the idea of recasting the part, and then we kind of brainstormed what actress would be suitable to come into Carrie Fisher's shoes.
That's tough.
Meryl Streep came up.
Yeah. She's probably the only person who'd have the street cred as an actress to pull that off.
Right. But then we jokingly came up with who had the voice and the look and the size. Stevie Nicks. So that was...
She's got that smoker's voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, the faces are almost the same. They could have been cousins.
Candice Bergman
would have been a good one, too.
She'd be about the right age.
I like that idea.
And the other thing we talked about is aging Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
They could have CGI'd her. I don't know what you guys think about the whole Tarkin thing in Rogue One. I honestly, if I didn't tell you that was a CGI, I don't think you would have noticed.
It was CGI.
Yeah. Yeah. Ketchup. No. Spoilers.
I like ketchup.
Spoilers. That was kind of cool. I mean, when you see it through most of Rogue One, eventually kind of like, there's a hint that there's some CGI going on here.
It's pretty well done.
It was really well done. And the actor who did the voice was so nearly perfect.
Yes.
I mean, he was channeling his inner
Tarkin.
Are you okay?
Peter Cushing. I'm verklempt. What's that? Yes, please. Thank you. So that I thought that was really well done. And then they did the cameo of Carrie Fisher at the very end of Rogue One, the young Carrie Fisher. Yeah. That was very blatantly CGI.
That one didn't care for that one at all. It almost didn't even look like her.
It really did.
And I don't think the version that they did in the Rise of Skywalker, where they were out in the woods, where it's her
the
and
training
Luke,
scene.
That didn't look like her either. It didn't look like either one of them.
No. That was
her daughter?
Her daughter, Billy Lord, and
then they CGI'd the face.
Yeah, CGI'd the face.
So was that Billy Lord's face we saw?
No, it was Carrie Fisher's face digitized onto Carrie Fisher's daughter.
Gotcha. That's creepy.
I can't remember who took over Mark Hamill's spot.
It's just stuntman.
No, they said it was Luke something or Star Wars.
Yeah, well, they could see now. You have a computer; you can look it up again. We're getting our studio back together again.
It's just amazing to me that they could do so good with Tarkin and so bad with Leia.
Yeah.
And it was a split. It was, what was that scene? 10 seconds at the end of Rogue One?
Tops. Crazy. Oh, but let's talk about that scene at the end of Rogue One. The gauntlet.
So good.
The Darth Vader gauntlet.
Oh, where he comes out just tearing through people.
Oh, my God.
That could be one of my favorite Star Wars scenes ever.
That was an epic moment.
That whole sequence right there.
That was a total epic moment. Yeah. As soon as the lightsaber lit, you're like,
going down.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And there's this cluster of rebel soldiers, and you feel bad because you know these poor sods are screwed.
Yep.
They are so screwed.
Now, has anybody seen, and Billy, have you seen the movie Skywalker more than once?
Yes.
Okay. I've only seen it once. I saw it. It came out on the Thursday night.
Yeah,
I saw it.
Is it still in theaters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still playing at Tinseltown as of today, which is Sunday.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know how much longer it is.
I saw it 2 days after it came out. I saw it Saturday morning. And, now it's February. So it's Groundhog Day as we record
Allegedly early spring.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting an early spring? Yeah, that's... In the snowiest city in the
Rochester,
country?
New York, yeah.
Rochester, New York, the snowiest city. Can you edit that out, Dan? Thank you.
Snowiest
No,
city.
you're not gonna.
No editing.
Damn.
My brain is trying now to remember 2 months ago to when I saw Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, it has been a little while since it came out now.
And I want to see it again. Just this discussion. I got to go back and watch this again because I've listened to a bunch of podcasts just to try and remind myself of things and like little things that I even may have missed while I was watching it. I just want to go back because I bought my tickets the night before, and there was 2 seats left right in the middle of the theater, which is crazy.
Perfect. Oh my gosh.
And it was 9:30 Saturday morning. So as soon as I got up, we went to the movies and we went to breakfast.
That's great.
I was shocked. I saw opening night, Henrietta, Regal Cinemas. I went online that morning, not thinking I'd be able to find a ticket. No problem. And I got there, walked in, what's the group? The 501st, whatever.
501st.
501st was there.
Yeah,
so
Nikki.
I was like, okay, this is a big deal. There's tons of people here. Walked into the theater. It was maybe half full.
Wow.
Opening night. And I don't know if it's just because they had it on so many screens that maybe I was in the one theater that wasn't completely filled up. But I was shocked that there was an empty seat
I think you're seeing
anywhere.
3 factors in that. One, I think the obvious was that people thought, well, I'm not going to bother opening weekend because the entire planet's going to go out and see it. Because
I was one of them until
that was one of my that was part of my mentality is I'm not going to worry about opening night or night 2 because everybody on the planet's going to go see it. I'm not going to get a good seat, so I don't worry about something like that. I'm wondering if like a mass kind of everybody was assuming at the same time.
Could be.
So they stayed away. 2, I'm wondering how much of that toxicity we were talking about at the time. Well, the movie's going to suck. I'm not really worried about going to see it because it's going to be a terrible movie. Everybody said so.
All those people who said, I'm not going to go see it.
You're all liars. You all saw it.
They all saw it.
You all saw it.
100%.
Hey, there's my buddy who's overseas in Europe, Brendan Toogood. By the way, Brendan, you're still a moron. Moving on.
Really?
I forgot where he came up one time, but we were talking about. I think it was when we were talking about toxicity and nerd culture.
Okay.
And he had made several posts on Twitter speaking out against something Star Wars, and just ripping people apart and whatnot. So it just became my mantra for a little while. Brendan Toogood, you're a moron, and I'm going to hold to that probably for a long time to come, just because that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So, but I had to get that out there. Anyway, moving on.
Well, I can't. I think what they did is they took. Yeah, Mark Hamill.
In the training scene, weren't they using the same hats as they were doing the Jedi chase scene?
They used the Return of the Jedi footage in order to do
the training scene in Rise of Skywalker. Where you see Leia actually lightsaber battling.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was kind of neat. That was a great tip. I mean, it's about time somebody explained the fact that, yes, the other Skywalker got a little Jedi loving too, so it's about time. Instead of just, floating Leia in the Last Jedi.
Let's see.
Suddenly she's flying. What's going on here? There's no explanation. Well, she's supposed to be strong. Wow.
That may be the dumbest Star Wars scene.
I
wanted to like Jar Jar, that was the weirdest.
Which one?
Where she was blown out of the ship and then she
floated back.
Right, yeah, it was. So, but it leads this now. Talks about her Jedi training that allowed her to be able to do that, and her Mary Poppins
Yes,
type.
Mary
Mary
Poppins.
Poppins,
I couldn't
y'all.
remember the name of it.
The
Yes.
Mary Poppins coming back.
Mary Poppins, y'all.
So
Sorry, I went Marvel Universe there for a second. It's all right. Let's talk about the future. What would you like to see, Billy? What would be where would the Star Wars universe go? What storyline should they be looking at?
I would love to see them do something with Poe.
Okay.
But again, I'm not sure if they're done with this whole group of people.
Mhm.
If they are done with this whole group of people, I hate the thought of having to start over completely from ground zero and get used to brand new characters.
Mhm.
Like The Mandalorian, which Billy hasn't seen yet. I'm
I
shocked.
haven't seen it yet either.
Shocked. Who are you people? Anyway,
I was waiting for the whole series to release the season to drop,
They're all
and it's
there.
now there.
they're all
Yeah.
there. But it was so well done. And The Mandalorian, we didn't know who that was.
Mhm.
It's not Boba Fett. It's not any of those guys.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to give anything away about that because I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
It's Jar Jar.
But there were some. Wouldn't that be awesome? The helmet comes off and the little ears pop out.
He's thinking this is the way.
But they started from scratch, but there was enough familiar stuff around them to make it familiar. And Star Wars, there were stormtroopers in there,
Yeah.
and there was lightsabers in there, and there was the things that you were expecting to see. Some of them showed up.
Mhm.
Oh,
And-
I'm going to struggle with this.
Oh,
It's an
boy.
American space western. I don't like westerns.
you like
You'll like
Firefly.
Oh,
You like
Firefly
I
is a
did,
Western.
but I don't like. Okay, let me rephrase it. I don't like spaghetti westerns.
I think the Mandalorian.
Well, then have
like
tacos
spaghetti.
and hamburgers instead of spaghetti.
Something, but I'm just like, oh, come on.
It's not that westerny.
It's
Okay.
better than the last couple of movies.
Yes.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
And if you want to binge them all back to back to back, I also like the fact that we couldn't binge them. So what ended up happening was we would watch it Friday night, and there was two nerds at work, and we're all texting back. We would start at the same time.
Uh-huh.
We're texting back and forth with each other. It gave us something to talk about
Yeah.
around the water cooler, where if they just dropped them all at the same time and everybody just binged them, but I didn't binge it, or
Mhm.
maybe you got halfway through it,
Mhm.
then you're like, okay, I don't want to give anything away, and you're not going to talk about it.
Right.
Right.
It gave you a reason to talk about Star Wars.
A lot of the streaming services are starting to do that.
I liked it. I
Yeah.
preferred it.
Like CBS All Access Picard is coming out
Right.
one episode at a time, and I know there are other shows that I've watched where it's been coming out one episode
Well,
at a
that
time,
also stops people from ordering it for a month,
and then disappearing.
watching it all, and then canceling.
Yeah, so there's a business aspect to it,
Right.
but I also like the practical aspect that it keeps you coming back, but it also gives you a chance to stop and think about what you just watched.
Mhm.
See,
And-
I almost wish, though, like a week is almost too long.
Yeah.
I wish it was like every 3 days, just so I can remember what happened in the previous episode.
That's what it says on last week's episode. Or
Or is there a...
They do
well,
that.
I don't know if it's on the
They
Mandalorian,
do
but
that.
I know that on certain, like when I was talking.
I mean, that's why, like, 24 was one of my favorite shows.
Okay.
Back when that was on. And they always had previously on 24.
Mhm.
And then they catch you up and almost sort of highlight the plot points that, from the previous episodes that were going to be featured on that night's episode.
They
So,
actually did a good job of, if you started at episode 5, they would get you caught up to speed
Oh,
in the
good.
first 30 seconds. Like, you could not watch the first 4 episodes and
Mhm.
pick it up and be like, okay, I know what's going on.
This is what 24?
No,
Or-
with the
Mandalorian.
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 They
okay.
just encapsulated it,
Yeah.
and each week it changed a little bit, but I think they did a good job of doing that. And I
Okay.
think anybody who's like a serious Star Wars fan is going to watch
Have you seen it?
every second of all of
The
it.
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it. Right up to the big shocker at the end, where it's like, what?
There was a lot of shockers in there.
That's that series finale or season finale for I keep remembering, I keep addressing things like British TV does. Series season, same thing. That season finale in Mandalorian is like,
That's a cliffhanger.
wow.
Yes.
Now the person who was watching with me at the time, she sat next to me. She had no clue what that represented, so I had to explain it to her, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds interesting.
Right.
Yeah, okay."
And all the cameos. Did you know all the cameos? Some of the stormtroopers.
I caught a few of them.
I again don't want to give it away for you guys.
But I
Some
know Jason's-
major effing stars
Yeah.
ended up under those helmets, and I
Yeah.
was like, you hear the voice, you go, "This no."
Well, just the way that they behaved in that one scene.
Yes,
That's like,
that was totally him.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Now, my favorite Stormtrooper cameo is from Last Jedi. Daniel Craig
Oh, really?
was the one Stormtrooper that Rey convinces to leave the weapon, unlock the door, and let
That was
her out.
Daniel Craig.
That was Daniel
I
Craig.
didn't know
James-
that.
That was James Bond, man.
There's been a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Who's the redheaded singer guy?
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran was in one.
Billy doesn't know. Kevin Smith is my favorite guy in the
Kevin
world.
Smith.
And he was one of the stormtroopers.
I didn't know that either.
And not Rise of Skywalker, the one before that.
Last Jedi.
How fun.
Yeah. So it's just that's your best way to get a cheap cameo.
Yeah.
Right? Is just stick him in the helmet.
Could you imagine? I mean, if you grew up watching that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you happen, I don't know, maybe he knew Rain, maybe he knew the producer or something. I don't know how they ended up with those roles, but they ended up with those roles. And how cool would that be to be an actor that grew up with this stuff? And even if you're only on set for a day to do this one scene, to just put on that armor and hear action and then cut, and then you go home and you're like, man, I was just in a Star Wars
movie, man.
That would be amazing. I remember just fading back to the beginning of the conversation. I remember watching the first one, New Hope, over and over and over again, and never being bored by it, never being irritated with it, just always just being in the moment, feeling like you're in the trench with Luke on that final run. Just always being involved in it and wanting to be a part of it. Just the lightsaber battles and everything, just wanting to be a part of it, so to have that opportunity, even if it's just that little brief second, that's that. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, so more Poe going forward.
More Poe. I'd definitely be down for Poe. If we had, I don't know, if we had new characters, it's hard to say what you would do with new characters because I mean the sky's the limit with that.
I would be interested to see what Rey did with the Force wielders of the future. Yeah. I don't know if you can really call them Jedi at that point. Is she going to create a whole new philosophy of it?
Could be.
That would be the story that I would be interested to see where that facet is going to go.
Some of the Rebels characters. Who was the Padawan? Is it Ahsoka?
Ezra Bridger.
Ahsoka.
Oh, from Clone Wars was Ahsoka.
Clone Wars. They put a book out with her that was really well done.
Yeah.
And I think you could do a lot with her because she was close with Anakin.
Yeah.
So having all of that to deal with, I mean, but again, you're going back in there. The only issue I really had with all of them was they seemed to rehash the story over and over. And George Lucas had this thing called Echoes, where he wanted to see echoes from his previous movies in the next movie. So that's why you had the father-son thing and the grandfather-granddaughter thing. It's like every series of movies you could see these echoes happening. And, when it came out, well, we've already said spoilers. So when it turns out that she's Palpatine's granddaughter,
right?
I'm sitting there going, have we not been down this road like 3 times already?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. But okay, it is what it is. And
Well, I'm glad she wasn't a Skywalker, though.
Yeah.
Or because then basically the only way you save the universe or save the galaxy would be the heroes if you were a Skywalker.
Right.
This spread it out. Now we're seeing the lineage of the evil is what's happening. She's the one who's balancing everything.
Right.
Up. She's the one who's bringing everything to right. So I thought that was a nice little tip of the hat at the very least.
The Obi-Wan character, there was talk of a movie. Now they're making the Disney show.
Yeah.
Or
are they?
They are. They're just on hold. Apparently they had to rework some scripts or something like that. But where are they going with that? Like if they had his life on Tatooine from the time he went into exile until the time he popped up to save Luke, there's some stuff they could do there.
Yeah. Where
maybe he protected him and nobody knew. Like there's a lot of secret agent kind of stuff they could do with that.
Absolutely.
I would love to see and I don't know. If they're done with that universe, I don't know where they're going to go with it.
I think they need Poe and Finn just because I want more BB-8 too.
Yeah. He is a cool droid.
Yeah.
He was a lot of fun.
BB-8
I have a pop socket on the back of my phone.
So, I mean, but when you create over 42 years this huge, rich universe...
They can't just walk away from all of that.
You can't. There's got to be something... There's more story to tell somewhere. So we would be interested to see what would happen.
Phasma? I'd love to see a Phasma movie. She's pretty badass.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That was a great character. Gwendolyn Christie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That would be a lot of fun to watch, just to see different takes. It would be interesting to see a movie from the Empire side of things. Like, the Empire's not just being rude and mean and evil. They're trying to bring order to the galaxy. And look at these rebels. To look at it from their side, see how they would see it.
They did that a little bit with Finn. I mean,
true.
That was his. He was just a guy in a situation that he wasn't happy with. So if we find out, think about, was it Clerks or Clerks 2 where they got into a discussion about the guys that are the contractors on the Death Star, and all of a sudden they just get blown up.
Yeah. You don't think a stormtrooper knows how to install a toilet main, right? That's the whole stormtrooper and a toilet main line. Yeah. That's good. So there's a lot of stuff to do, and here's the thing is we have this wonderful venue that we'll be able to continue talking about it, and we'll armchair the quarterback the hell out of it. Mandalorian Season 2 has already been approved, so they're working on it. And it's interesting you brought up Ahsoka Tano, because I heard something the other day, and I'm just going to take a moment to look that up now that I'm thinking about it. And
by the way, while you're looking that up, they could make so many of the books into movies. The Tarkin book, where they went back and explained his whole backstory and how he got to where he is, and how his father, again, they went to the father thing, how his father was kind of a badass and was like, you got to make it on your own. They put him through a trial in the book, and he had to go out and learn how to survive in the wild by himself. And that sort of led to his hardness and coldness of where he is in life.
Yeah. We know that other movies are in the works. MCU overlord Kevin Feige has been tagged to produce and oversee one. And then there's been a couple of other. Well, did Rian Johnson have a trilogy that he's working on or not anymore? Did he walk away from it? We don't know. That's all working out right now. But
there is another trilogy.
There's another trilogy in the works somewhere. This is what I just looked it up. This was a couple of months ago. Kevin Feige, in his Star Wars movie, is thinking about bringing Ahsoka back, and he's also looking at Brie Larson to play her.
That'd be cool.
So there's your Captain Marvel. Cool. Your Captain Marvel as your favorite Jedi Padawan, your fallen Padawan. So it should be interesting. There's so many stories to tell.
Yeah,
I think that's the brilliance of Star Wars, and this has been the case even from when there was only one trilogy and a ton of books. There's always been a story to tell. I as a gamer, played D&D all my life. I got to play the Star Wars role-playing game for a while. So I got to be a Jedi. I got to be a scoundrel. I got to be a soldier. I got to make your own story. The universe that was created by George Lucas's imagination is so deep, so rich, and so expansive that there's so much stuff out there to do. I think that's part of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I think it's what's always been a draw. Even when the movie hasn't been as great, it's still a draw.
It's amazing that he had a lot of this mapped out before the first movie ever happened.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have funding for any of this, but he had this whole world sort of sketched out in a book. And it came to life through the films. And,
the Journal of the Wills.
It's pretty close to what he originally laid out.
Yeah. The last trilogy kind of went gonzo off of his plan.
That wasn't all him. So.
Yeah, he gave it up. That's, when you step away, this is what's going to happen. Somebody's going to take your vision, and if they don't know your secrets,
right,
they're going to go wander off in a different direction.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's fun. I think we're in a good spot here. So we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of upcoming events, and then we have our question of the week.
April 18th, we have FLXCon, the Finger Lakes Comic Convention. It is April 18th at the Quality Inn of Waterloo from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Adults are $10. Kids 12 to 17 or 7, and children 11 and under are free. Of course, we're going to have comics, toys, games, collectibles, lots of other fun stuff, some panels, and we still have vendor spots available. So you can check it out on the FC3 Facebook page, or you can send one of us an email. I'm Ann at FC3ROC.org. And with an E. Oh, yeah, we always forget that part. Yeah. And, of course, we have our FC3 2020 coming up.
Woo! At the TSC Total Sports Experience, TSC in Gates.
And it's May 30th and 31st.
Woohoo!
We do have lots of exciting stuff coming. Who are our two guests, Tanya?
Our two guests are Red Power Ranger Jason Font and WWE
superstar Mick Foley.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
way.
Yeah.
Did you not know?
I didn't know that.
Oh.
He's randomly... What is his connection here? Does he have relatives
has friends here, yeah.
Because he randomly will pop up, and like in my Twitter feed, I follow a lot of Rochester people. There'll be a picture of him at like Vision Ford or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good get.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, McFoley. He's played many characters, but and he's I just watched a movie this past a couple days ago called The Peanut Butter Falcon. highly recommend it. It's a really good movie. And Mick Foley
like
has
the Maltese Falcon.
No. It's a kid with Down syndrome.
Oh, okay. Totally different movie then.
On an adventure with a drifter played by Shia LaBeouf, and it's a sweet, funny movie. And I recommend the Peanut Butter Falcon. But now back to your events. I'm sorry.
Are we doing a movie recommendation when we jump in? Maybe a book recommendation every so often?
So Mick Foley's in the movie, and and
there's your relate.
Oh, okay.
And he's
there's
at
the
FC3.
So you should also check out our FC3 Facebook page and watch our weekly updates. We hold a bi-weekly game night at the 585 Rocket Burger Bar.
We're not sure when the next one's going to be, because I'm not going to plan on that Wednesday for that networking singles networking night. Even though you were going to let's people watch.
We really need to go and people watch the Single Mingle, man. It's only ages 35 and up. It's got to be interesting. Gotta be interesting.
Wait, is this a gaming night? Singles gaming night?
No.
Okay, I was going to say there'd be a 40-to-1 dude to chick ratio at that.
No, we host a game night at the 585 Rock and Burger Bar. We just had one on February 5th. Even though we're recording on February 2nd, we're going to do adult game night on February.
It's happening again.
Yeah, February 5th. But then if we did one in a couple weeks like we would normally do, it would land on the singles networking night event that is being held at the 585.
That would be some people watching.
So it was kind of like the game night that we tried to do when it was Nurses Night Out. It's just, it was.
And of course, watch Monday nights, our Facebook page for our lovely Chris Frank and his guest of whoever it is that week for Nerd World News.
Oh, well, last week it was Juno. A couple weeks ago it was me when I had the day off. But
so I'm going to switch out so that Chris can come to that. Yay! So it's getting on to that time of the
nap time?
It's getting on to that time of the show.
I like nap time.
Talk about our question of the week.
I know, you seem to be a little...
Anne's got a card.
A little shorter? Okay. The question of the week. What does Star Wars mean to you? Oh, man. I'm going to have to... That's philosophical.
You married somebody.
Yeah. Well, the last time I was in costume, I married somebody. But no, I actually officiated the ceremony, didn't get married myself. I already did that once. What does Star Wars mean to me?
To us.
Wow.
To each one of us. I wish we would have had that prep during the break. So
she asked us when we showed up, do you want to know what the question is?
I said no.
People said no.
Oh. I thought it was going to be what's your favorite character?
I was going to say something.
What does Star Wars mean to me?
To myself.
I kind of I don't want to pass the buck. I'm going to hit it at this point. So, what does it mean to me? I kind of touched about it before we went on break. It's the boundless imagination. And it's just because the universe is so deep, so broad, with so many components to it. It's not just Rebels versus Empire. There's the smugglers. There's the everyday folk. There's the normal people who just want to live their life like we have in this day and age, right? There's the Jedi. There's the Sith.
Could be Smith.
And the Jones.
Mr. Anderson, I see you have
Keeping
a green
up with
lightsaber. Anyway, moving on. Darth Smith. Anyway, there's a cosplay mashup. I think just the whole expansiveness of it, that level of possibility, that there's always going to be something for you to create within this canvas. That's what it means to me.
I'm going to go next because I have a different take on it.
Okay.
I'm a little bit older than you guys. Billy and myself are similar ages, but I'm still a little older.
Mm-hmm.
And when Star Wars came out, it was in an age where there were only 3 TV channels. 4 if you count PBS.
Right.
Yeah.
The UHF didn't even exist. We had Channel 21, 8, 10, and 13. And so our entertainment was locked into the network shows, and on Saturdays and Sundays, you could come across some old movies. And I've always liked old movies, comedies, science fictions, monster movies, all that stuff. And when Star Wars came out, And I tie Star Wars sort of into the same type of film as Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
And to me, both Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark are homages to the old movies that I grew up watching on TV on Saturday.
Gotcha.
It's old science fiction and adventure movies. And so to me, Star Wars is almost proof that entertainment is cyclical. Mm-hmm. Everyone says, and I've always been a music guy. People listen to me on the radio, always say, well, there's no good new music. It's all no, there's always good stuff if you look for it.
Right.
Someone's always making good stuff. George Lucas made an old movie.
Mm-hmm. In a modern text.
In a modern time. And he recreated what could be done with the old movies. I mean, sure, I liked, Earth versus the Flying Saucer or whatever.
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Exactly. But George Lucas did something. He said, I like these old movies. Steven Spielberg did similar things. And he made a movie his own. A movie that has stood the test of time. 40 years? Mm-hmm. So 40 years ago, he made a movie that could have been made with less technology 30 years before that. And to me, it represents fun, and it represents sort of the cyclical nature of entertainment.
All right. That's cool. I like that.
I just watched Abbott Costello meet Frankenstein last night.
There's a classic.
And you still laughed, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How about you, Billy?
I would say Escape.
Okay.
We live in a very crazy world right now.
Oh, yeah, we do.
And not even talking politics, everything. The internet, social media. I do that at work, and it is so toxic.
Yeah.
It is so toxic. I know that when I turn all that off, I can pick up a book, I can start streaming a movie, and I'm going to love what I see, and it's going to make me feel like a kid again.
Okay.
Again, it all goes back to that. Man, I can still remember my mom driving me to the theater when I was 7 years old.
Nice.
That's what an impact it had.
Yeah, absolutely.
The gold station wagon with the seats that face backwards.
Oh, you got one of those?
Those were the best.
Phenomenal, man.
So, but it gives you that feeling. And even though the movies have moved on with technology and how they present things, it's still kind of the same basic story from movie to movie. And the comic books, I still read the comic books. I still read the books. And there's just a whole universe out there ready to be explored. And I'm already plugged into it. So when I finish one book, I already got another one lined up ready to go.
Nice.
And it's escape. The world can be as crazy as it wants. And I can fall into this world and be happy.
You figure back then, the Star Wars traveled word of mouth mostly.
Yeah.
And you didn't have the internet back then. You didn't have 172 cable channels.
You had the great.
You had your best friends.
Yeah.
That's it.
Who told you about this movie they saw. And then they played with action figures, and you became part of the universe.
Yeah. And then after Empire Strikes Back, you stuck Han in a cup of water and stuck it in the freezer. Or was that just me?
That was
just you.
Okay. Apparently.
Wow, now I got to try that.
Now, Billy, has there been any of the novelizations, any of the books that you've reread over and over again?
I haven't reread only because there's so much. And you asked when I walked in, what else am I into? Okay, there's Harry Potter.
Okay.
Does that count as being...
Yeah, that's a fandom.
I'm into that. But other than that, it's all Star Wars. And for a while, I started to read some of the other Marvel stuff. And there's so much Star Wars stuff out there that I end up seeing the new books that are coming out. I'm like, oh, I really want to read that, but I don't have time because I'm doing all this other stuff. So there was a point a couple of years ago where I was just like, you know what? I'm all in on Star Wars.
Gotcha.
So, whether it's the comic books, the movies, the TV shows, all that stuff. If I have downtime, I'm probably reading a book that has to do with Star Wars. Maybe it's the creation of it, the technical stuff behind it. I think Anthony Daniels, didn't he just do an autobiography?
I believe so, yes.
Or it's coming out. I think it's coming out. I'll probably end up reading that. The Carrie Fisher book was pretty cool. And, as these guys get older, they're starting to kind of spill the beans on what happened while they were on the set. And that's always fun to see because we know the movies inside and out. But when you hear stories like Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher were hooking up, it's like, what?
Yeah.
What? You knew that, right? Okay. You had a look on your face. I'm like, how did you not know that?
Spoilers. Yeah, that was a big thing that was going on. They were catching up with each other towards the tail end of the first movie, and then all throughout the second movie, they were hiding away with each other.
19, and he was 30 something.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
with a wife and kids at home.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hello. Tanya,
Yeah.
you get to close up shop this time. Usually I'm the one ending the question of the week discussion. Go ahead, tell me what Star Wars means to you.
I'm gonna have to jump on with what Billy said. That is definitely a thing of escape. Just I could turn on one of the movies or just see something and just check my brain at the door and just fall into that world and tune everything else out. I think initially I fell in love with Star Wars back when I was in third grade, went to the movies. At that time, my hair was long enough that I could do...
You did the buns?
I did have the cinnamon buns, yeah. The Princess Leia buns for Halloween for that third grade year. My hair was long enough. My mom would braid it and then put it up, and I was Leia that year. And just to fall into the characters and become part of it. It's just because I just picture myself as one of the characters and just fall into it. And I think that's what usually happens to me with most movies is I check my brain at the door and I just fall right into the movie and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So. And
if you don't like something, just go, all right, well, that wasn't that good. Move on.
I mean, there's parts that I don't like and there's parts that I love.
So. We did a Star Wars movie festival when I was in college, my senior year when I was at Brockport in the dorms. And the RD, who was my boss in the building, unbeknownst to any of us, went and raided the dining hall before the event began. So he comes walking out to get the movie started, and he had taken a wire coat hanger, jammed it into 2 cinnamon buns, and strapped them to his head and comes walking in. And now let's add the fact that this is an African American gentleman with a full beard, and he does that. We were dying. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. It was perfect. But that's. Everybody knew exactly the reference. We were all on the same page. We all knew why he did it. We all loved it, and then moved on. And then halfway through the movie, I realized he was actually eating the cinnamon buns, which was very strange.
That were already on his head.
But they're available snacks.
There is.
Available snacks. That's great. So that's good. That's an episode. And we're done for that for now. So I'm gonna say thank you.
This was
Billy,
a blast.
Thanks for.
I never get to go deep into Star Wars.
Well, and we kind of the universe is so rich.
Yes,
we skirted over a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I think whenever we're gonna talk more than Star Wars, we'll talk Harry Potter. We'll talk a lot of other things. You're always welcome to join us whenever you want to, man.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you for the invite.
You are very welcome. It was great having you with us. So for Billy and for Tanya, and for Ann and for Dan and for myself.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I tell you, I got it though, didn't I? First try.
And then someone interrupted him.
And then somebody
interrupted It usually happens.
But that's okay, because Dan's trying to figure out right now where he's going to start the closing music. And it's going to be right about here when I say it. And then I'm going to say, this has been FC3's Monkey Business, a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic Con, coming at you May 30th and 31st of 2020 at the Total Sports Experience in Gates. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us wherever we go, and we will lead you to where the entertainment is. Everybody have a great week, be good to each other, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Dun, dun.